And we're live. Hello everybody, here we are, we're live again, and Hands Around the World, our healing minute, which is probably going to last a bit more than a minute. It might last 45 minutes to an hour, depending on what we have to say, who we're talking to, what we're doing, and so on and so forth. But this is the time of the week that I do like to give out my healing sessions. We've had a wonderful response from people. A lot of people are getting a great deal of benefit from it. One of the questions that I am asked over and over again, and Michelle, I've got Michelle here and she'll bear me out on this, is, does it work if it's not live? If I'm not watching it live, if I can't watch it live, if I have to watch the recording, does it work? And the answer to that is absolutely yes, it does. Because why? Because it's my energy that you're tapping into. Aside from the fact that you're learning more about healing as we go along, aside from the fact that I'm trying to show you how to give healing not only to yourself but to others, aside from all of that good stuff that you're learning, the energy as we're giving that healing, as we are doing the healing session itself, it certainly does have an effect. Doesn't matter how many times you watch it. It's rather like I have many meditation CDs that are out there. And by the way, if you do want to know more about my meditation CDs, please email me, Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com, and I'll tell you about them. And next week or the week after, do I have a story for you about our meditation CD. You will not believe it, but it happens to be true, and so we have witnesses. But meditation CDs, any meditation CD, if you know somebody, if you admire someone and they do meditation CDs or meditation, even meditation, what is that, online stuff that people do, it works. It really does work to do meditation. It really works. It really helps to relax you. So is it worth watching these once they go up there on YouTube, once they are not live anymore? The answer to that question is an absolute resounding yes, yes, yes. So now, last week, I told the story of Mark, and I promised you all that I would try to tell you a story each week, a healing story each week. Before I do that though, and I actually have two stories for you today. Can you? Oh yes, two stories, what a treat. Before we do that, first of all, I'd like to talk to you about healing, because if anybody is not clear about the type of healing that I personally will give, I would like to explain what it is a little bit more so that people do understand. I am not giving healing to cure. And I know that that's probably confusing to all of you. Why on earth would I bother to give healing to cure? Or if I'm not going to cure, if I'm not going to promise the tumour is going to be reduced, or if I'm not going to promise the arthritis is going to be, dissipated, and so on and so forth, why on earth would I give healing in the first place? I am a spiritual healer. There are many different kinds of healers: doctors, nurses, qualified, unqualified, herbalists, therapists. Or a masseuse would be make a great healer. There are lots of different ways of giving healing. There are lots of different ways of people who give their energy in one way or another. So please let me clarify. First of all, I am a spiritual healer and a medium. So first and foremost, as I'm working with my energy, and as I am working, as I've shown you before in the previous weeks that we've been doing this, as I'm working to send out my energy, whether it is healing that I give, which is called either distant healing or absent healing because you're absent from me personally, or whether it is a one-on-one, it's all the same thing. I know that a lot of my patients feel much more comfortable. They feel as if I've got a good dose of it if they are with me and I actually put my hands on them. But of course, around the world, I can't be everywhere at once. And so absent healing, distant healing works just as well. It is just as powerful and works just as well. So when I do that, first and foremost, I'm not necessarily looking at the person to see if they have a physical ailment. People come to me for their physical ailments, but first and foremost, as I'm beginning the healing process, I'm looking to the soul of that person. And I'm looking to the energy of the soul of that person. I'm looking to the energy field of the soul of that person. If you can visualize, as I'm talking, a flower bulb, to be more precise, a daffodil bulb. You can visualize a daffodil bulb. And we take this bulb, and if you're a gardener and if you're a good gardener, you'll take this bulb gently. You'll find a good spot for it. I always put mine in clusters, but you'll find a good spot for the daffodil bulb. You will put it into the ground. You will make sure that it's got sun and moisture. You'll make sure that the bulb has all that it needs in order for it eventually to flower. And daffodil bulbs, aren't they great? Aren't they the most beautiful things? So the soul is like that daffodil bulb. The gardener, God, the universe, call it whatever you want. Let's say God. The gardener, God, takes us, our soul, this beautiful, beautiful bulb, places it here on the earth in an environment which enables us to grow and to be nurtured. Now, you might think, what about those people in India then? What about those people in the desert starving? What about the people who are born into war zones? Surely God would not place this precious soul into a war zone, but that might be the best place for this soul. It might be the best place for the learning and the growth of the soul. We don't know why God places us in certain environments, except that He knows what it is that we need to learn, to grow, to build our strength. If I look at my own life and my own childhood and the family that I was born into, why would God put us into an abusive situation in a family which abuses or is cruel or mean or whatever? That doesn't sound like nurturing to me as a mother, but it is actually nurturing, because when we deal with all of those pains and those hurts and so on, when we deal with all of that, we are learning, we are growing, we are learning about our own strength, we're learning about our own power. So getting back to the soul, God places the soul into this environment, onto the earth, in whatever environment is deemed necessary for the growth of the soul. The soul then puts its roots into the earth and is nurtured. Sometimes it is nurtured through pain, sometimes it is nurtured through love, but nevertheless it is nurtured. The only one who can destroy the soul is the soul itself. If the soul decides not having any more of this, don't want any more of this, then the soul will actually wither and die. However, many people out there on this earth have souls that are in need of light, in need of energy, because they become so worn. So as a healer, first and foremost, I look to the soul of my patient and I give healing and my healing energy to the soul of the patient. The flower, the daffodil that blooms and is beautiful, represents the spirit or the energy field of the soul. So my job as a healer, first and foremost, is to give light and to give beauty and to give enough of that light that the soul can grow and can blossom. So that is my job, first and foremost. Now, sometimes when the soul starts to blossom, when the soul starts to feel that light and that purity and that goodness, that light and that purity, that energy permeates throughout the body and can create, we call them miracles, don't we? Can create so many miracles. It may, that light, that brightness, that energy, it may reduce a tumor. It may help to bring a person to a point where they can fight an illness. But first and foremost, my job as a spiritual healer is to give healing to the soul and to bring light, aura, energy field, call it what you like, to bring that aura, to bring it to a point of blooming and growing and nurturing. What happens after that? If nothing more than that happens, it's great. But if that happens and then more than that happens, that's thrilling to me. That's an amazing thing for me. And so that's where we begin as healers. So I just want to be clear, when you go to see a spiritual healer, we're not saying, well, don't worry because I'll fix the arthritis. Don't you worry because I'll get rid of that tumor for you. We're not saying any of those things. We're not promising a cure because we can't. I can't decide for God what's going to happen to anybody. I leave it into God's hands, which is also why we also, prior to our healing sessions, say the prayer, the healing prayer, asking God to help us, to guide us, and asking God for healing for the patient. So the role as a healer, as a spiritual healer, is very, very simple. We just throw our beautiful energy out there. We create this energy within us. We build it and make it as pure and as beautiful and as good as we possibly can, and then we send it out there to wherever it needs to go. And then, then it's up to God. Many people have given me accolades over the years. Oh, she did this for me. She cured my cancer. She did this and that, and so on and so forth. No, I didn't do a thing. I didn't do a single thing except put myself into God's hands and put my patients into God's hands, trusting and knowing that whatever was the right thing to do, God would decide. We always say at the end of our prayer, dear God, I will to thy will. We mean it. I certainly mean it. Dear God, I will to thy will. I don't know what somebody needs the most. And sometimes I do imagine that, especially if it's someone we love and someone we care about, we do tend to pray, dear God, save them. Dear God, don't let them die. But I do wonder sometimes if what we're actually saying, without realizing what we're saying, is, dear God, can we not have them go on this special journey just yet because I selfishly want them with me? We're human, aren't we? So we're selfish. But sometimes in trying to prolong a person's life here on this earth, we might inadvertently be trying to delay their fabulous next part of their journey. So perhaps it's a weird way you think I'm looking at these things, but I wanted to explain that to you. Now I'm going to go to Michelle, who's there sort of manning the stuff. I see we've got a few comments here. Michelle, let's go to the comments first, then I'm going to tell you the story, then we're going to do the healing session, then you'll have a chance to make more comments or ask questions and so on. So do we have anything, Michelle, right now?
We do.
Would you like to tell me what would you like to speak?
Normally you always catch me at the absolute worst time.
Sorry.
But James had actually come on, and I was adding his aunt and uncle to our healing page real quick so that she would get the healing when we send it out today.
Brilliant.
And so I had clicked off of the video.
Oh, okay. Well, click back on then.
I like to add people as I go.
Yeah. Yeah, we do try, when you request us to give you healing or to send someone you love or you maybe someone you just know, you request healing, we always do try to put them on the list straight away. However, if we don't put them on straight away, we always put them on after the show. So you will get, even if we don't respond to you and say, oh yeah, we've got it, you are going, if you've requested it, you're on the list. Just take it as that's how it is.
Okay, so James's comment was, hi Rosemary, I hope you are well. Can you please send healing to my aunt Blodwin, who is suffering with her own illnesses and cancers.
Wonderful Welsh name, Blodwin.
As well as looking after her very poorly husband Keith, who has Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. And she's an amazing woman, and
so we'll send healing to Blodwin and to Keith.
Yeah,
how about
both of them on the
that? So you're on the list apparently, James. So thank you for that. Yeah, keep going. Anyone else? Anything else going on?
Well, Jacqueline wanted to know, hello, do you see anything for me?
No, we're not doing that right now. This is a healing. This is a healing video, and although I do know why people ask that, the answer is no. Go ahead, keep going.
Just a bunch of good mornings and hellos and.
So I'm going to say good morning and hello to every one of you. It is actually good afternoon here where we are, but anyway. All right, so we're going to do our healing session, but as I promised, I'm going to tell you a healing story. And you know, a lot of people who come to me for healing do actually die. People bring their animals who are sick. No matter how much healing we give, they do actually die. So in other words, we're not saving people necessarily by giving healing. What we are doing is we are first and foremost, remember, giving light to the soul so that the spirit, the energy field that surrounds the soul can become brighter, calmer, and more at peace. When we had our healing centres in England, we used to have visiting nurses all the time for patients who were wanted to be at home or they were, for whatever reason, couldn't be in hospital or didn't want to be in hospital. And those nursing visitors were brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant. And we had it said to us so many times over the years that we had our centres, that the nurses and even some of the doctors, but especially the nurses, they said they could always tell when they walked into the house of a patient who was having healing on a regular basis and those patients who were not. And they claimed, and I do see that this is quite true, they claimed that when they walked into the house of a patient who was having healing on a regular basis, there was a calmness, there was a peace, there was a tranquility. The family, and particularly the patient, were calmer, happier even, more hopeful. Not hopeful that the illness would necessarily go away, but hopeful that there was something more and something that would continue on once they had passed. But the idea of the peace and the calm, and so many people are very sick, and so many people, you know, their body is ravaged to the point that, you know, short of an amazing miracle, which we do get sometimes, but short of an amazing miracle, we know they're going to pass. But how much better is it if they pass with love, with healing energy all around them, with a team of people who are strangers to them, but helping them and helping their family to come to terms with what is happening. And that is part of the job of myself and also of my team. We had a healing centre in Thorne, which is in the north of England, and small town. This healing centre sounds very grand, but actually it was sort of, I think it was some sort of a scouts hall or something. I'm trying to remember what it was now. I'm probably going to get into trouble because it might not be actually a Scouts hall, but we rented it from these people. We had fantastic tea ladies. If Mavis is watching, hi sweetheart. Anyway, we had fantastic tea ladies who made the tea, and we had this large room that we would put chairs and around for our patients and for the healers, and we also had a tea room which was always busy and buzzing and so on. And this particular day, this story I'm going to tell you, a lady came to us. She was new, she'd never been before, and she came with a friend of hers, totally not knowing what to expect, didn't know what she was going to get. The thing that she didn't expect was the friendliness and the kindness of my team and myself, and the touching of people who would put their arms around you without even questioning, and so the welcoming and the love that people found with my team and also with myself. Anyway, this lady, and I just thought of another story, but anyway, it'll come back. But anyway, this lady came with her friend, and it happened that I greeted her, put my arm around her, and she was very nervous, I could see. I said, well, come on, let's go into the healing room, and I explained a little bit about what I'm going to do. So she went in there, and I told her about healing and how we work, and basically we do a laying on of hands, just as Christ did. We just put our hands on you, we create this energy, we share our energy with you, and so on and so forth, and explained to her a little bit about it. And I said to her, is there any particular reason that you've come, or did you just come to experience it? And she sort of was a little bit shy, and she said, well, no, nothing particular, nothing particular at all. So I gave a healing, and after the healing session was done, which takes about 10 minutes, it was lovely to sit and chat with her. And I said to her, would you like to go into the tea room and maybe have a couple of cookies and a drink or something? So I took her back to the healing room and sat her down and so on, and she was very quiet, very, very quiet. I never thought any more about it. We just carried on, and as we always did at these sessions, after all of the patients had had their healing, anyone who wanted to stay behind and ask questions could. So we sat around and were chatting, and she actually spoke up, and she said, my husband didn't want me to come tonight, and he was absolutely against it and making fun and saying, oh, you're going to the witch's coven, are you? And making weird, how people used to do years ago, making fun of what we did and so on. So she said, but when I go home, I've got something to tell him. And she held her hand up to show us, and she said, look, she said, I can move my fingers. And I said, well, why wouldn't you move your fingers? And she said, my hand has been paralyzed for more than 15 years, and I haven't been able to move my fingers. And look, she said. She came back the next week. She couldn't wait to get home. She told us that she couldn't wait to get home. And she walked in the door, and her husband, how did it go then? Were there any weird and wonderful experiences there? Did you enjoy the coven? And she just looked at him, went up to him, and she said, well, actually, it was really good. See? And she held up her hand and wriggled her fingers. And she told us his face went deathly pale before he said, how could that possibly happen? And she said, I guess I have to believe in miracles. That was one little story of the many, many, many that we do get, the stories that we have that, we tell. Now here is another story, which is a beautiful story. you know, I wanted to tell a story about the hand because I wanted you to understand that, you know, actually miracles happen every day. And somebody once said to me, you know, well, how many patients do you cure? And I said, but we don't offer a cure. He said, okay, then. He said, how often does it work? How often does healing work? You know, how many out of 10? How many out of 100 does healing work? And I looked at this person and I said, I'm going to say that healing works. But how can you possibly say that? I said, because healing is about love. And when you're touched with love, it doesn't matter if you don't want to feel it. You can't help it. You feel it. And that's what we do. We touch people with our love, with our energy, with the beauty of God's amazing healing. So I was asked to go to visit a patient who was very, very ill. I was told she only had days to live, but she was extremely agitated. And as I said earlier on, the nurses in our area could always tell the patients who had healing and the patients who did not, and the peace and the calm and the tranquility. Well, apparently they had a patient. She was a lady probably in her 50s, and they asked, the nurses said to me, would you mind going to visit her? And I said, well, I have to have permission from the wife or the husband. And they said, oh, well, the husband, we've told the husband and he said he wants you to come. So okay. And off I went. Her name is Dolly. And I walked into this very tiny apartment, and there was a bed in one corner of the apartment. You could tell immediately these were not people who were well off at all. They had the bare minimum, although it was somewhat clean. They were not in abject poverty by any means, but this bed in the corner of the room could have done with clean sheets and could have done with nicer blankets. And as a protective person walking in and seeing somebody sick, I just wanted to make it more comfortable and wanted to make it easier. Anyway, I'm digressing here. So at first I did not see the figure in the bed. She was so tiny, she was barely bigger than a child. Her illness had gone a long way to shrink her body, and she was the tiniest thing. In fact, the largest thing about her was her head. The rest of her had shrunken to almost nothing. I walked over to the bed and she sort of lay in this weirdly crumpled heap in the middle of the bed. I put a chair next to the bed and I sat down and I talked to her, and for all that she was so very, very sick, she could talk. It was difficult for her, but she could talk, and she told me how very tired she was, and she told me how ill she was. And she said to me at some point after we chatted for a few minutes, she said, it's my back that is the worst. It hurts so much. So I did no more than climb into bed with her. I said, do you mind if I get in there with you? She looked at me like I was a crazy person. She was so teeny tiny. It was like holding my daughter in my arms. And so I climbed into bed and I lifted her very carefully, very gently under her arms. She was as light as a feather. There was hardly anything to her at all. And I sat with her, and at first I gently rubbed her back, and then I just let her lay against me, and I held her, and her head, just so tiny, this lady, her head lolled on my shoulder, and I talked to her, and I talked to her about healing. I talked to her about my beliefs. We talked a little bit about God, and fairly soon she was asleep in my arms. Her husband was sitting in a chair at the other side of the room, sort of reading a newspaper, not appearing to take any notice at all. Whether he was or not, I don't know. So at some point I said to him, if you want to take a break and go off for a walk or something, I'll be here for a little bit longer if you want to go take a break. Because as healers, we always try to help the families as well as the patients. And so he took himself off. I sat there for quite a while, probably about an hour, with this lovely little lady in my arms, marveling at the perfection of her head, would you believe? She had no hair. Her scalp was round, her head was very round. You could see the dark hair just peeking through, ready to come through. I put my hands on her head, stroking her, talking to her all the time she was asleep. I talked, gave her healing, and stayed with her. When I left, I wasn't sure if I'd see her again, but the husband actually called the nurse the next day and he said, Dolly's had the best night's sleep she's had in a long time. Could that lady come back again? So I went for the next several days. I spent time with Dolly and just gave her healing. And we talked. And it got to the point where even though she could barely move, she'd always try to sit up so that I could climb into bed with her, and Dad just would hold her in my arms. You know, of course, where this story is going. Of course she passed. Did she pass in agitation? Did she pass frightened? Because when I first went to see her, it was her fear that was so palpable. She was afraid of what she might find. She was afraid that she might find nothing. She was afraid that there was a God. She was afraid that there wasn't a God. She was just afraid of the unknown. And by the time she passed, she was peaceful. She passed gently. She passed quietly. And she passed in her sleep. I still remember Dolly to this day, as I do so many of my patients actually. I still remember Dolly for her tiny little form, her tiny little head and her tiny little body, not much more than the size of a young child. And I can still, when I'm telling you this story, feel her in my arms. I can feel the complete and utter trust that she gave to me. And I was so honoured to be a part of her healing process. Healing may not cure the physical, but it certainly can take away the fear. It can certainly bring calm and peace. It certainly brings love. Why would a total stranger climb into your bed and hold you in their arms just simply because you need it? Well, that's what healing's about, and that's what we healers are about. So many stories I have to tell you, and even as I've been talking about this little Dolly here, I'm thinking of so many other stories that I'm going to be telling you over the years. Another Mark, I don't know, so many people that I have these stories about. If you have a story of healing, maybe you've had healing yourself. Well, maybe you're a healer who's listening, and maybe you've got us a story to tell. Maybe you've had an experience with a patient. We'd love to listen to your stories. We'd love you to share them with us, and I'd like to share them with everybody out there who's listening. People have very often a weird understanding of what healing is. Some people dismiss it out of hand. It's ridiculous and it's rubbish, and it always makes me raise my eyebrows when people say that, because those comments are from people who don't even know what we do. But they're willing to say it's rubbish just the same. Again, it's not about curing the physical. It's about giving love, sharing of yourself, giving your own energy, and just asking for God's help and guidance as you're doing all of those things. Do we have any more comments or anything else going on here, Michelle?
We do.
Okay, go for it.
Since you were telling your story, I added about 7 people to the healing list.
Good.
We did want to talk about Denise with her leg.
Yes.
So do you want to do that now?
Yes, we did have an email from a lady who asked us to send healing to her daughter who has been having trouble with her leg. The doctors have diagnosed it as to do with the nerves in her legs, in her one leg. We're sending healing, and again, this is a Hands Around the World. Remember this, at 11 a.m. every morning. Any one of you out there listening, your friends, your family, even strangers on the street, I don't care who you share this with, any one of you can help by joining with us wherever you are in the world. 11 a.m. In the morning, we spend 1 minute saying our healing prayer, which I'm going to be saying in a few minutes, and just giving that 1 minute of your time to all those people who are on my healing list. You might want to start a healing list of your own, so to all those people on your list, on my list, and please share this as much as you can with anyone that you know of, because I think there are so many of us. Illness, what is it anyway? It spans from mild depression to physically disabling and racking pain and so on. But even emotional pain can be so severe. So please don't think, even if you hurt your finger, see that? So even the smallest thing, please don't think that we don't have time for even the smallest thing, because we do. Because whatever is distressing needs healing. Whatever is distressing to any one person is something that we can help with by simply reaching out and holding your hands around the world. So please feel free to join us. Anything else we've got there, Michelle, before we go into our healing session?
It is just pretty much, Ben, can you add my son or add my father to the healing list?
Please, we are adding and adding. So we're going to go now into the healing session, and it would be great if some of you were to respond by either giving an opinion or telling us, how you feel, or simply joining in by just, letting us know what's going on with you, because, this is an opportunity for you to ask those questions about healing, about energy, or you can even ask questions about me. You can ask whatever you like. Okay, and we'll do our best to answer. So, all right, we're going to go into this session now. It's going to last about 5 minutes or possibly a little bit longer. Healing sessions don't need to be any longer really than a minute, actually, but I'm going to talk you through this. So those of you who've joined me before know exactly what to do, and you're already in position. So I want you to find a comfortable place to sit. Feet firmly on the ground, hands, palms upwards in a receiving position. We'll talk more about that at another time if you'd like me to, or maybe you just know all about it anyway, or go back and look at the videos that we've done before, because I have talked about that before. All right, so hands, palms upwards in a healing position. Lay your hands on your thighs, just relax. Breathing in through your solar plexus and visualizing as we go. I'm going to talk you through it. So first and foremost, dear God, please allow us to be a part of your healing process. Allow us to participate. Allow us to join our energy, our good and positive healing energy, to that divine, beautiful healing energy that is out there, that universal God force that is out there, and allow us to combine our love, our energy and our healing energy to that universal God force, so that we may do your work. Dear God, I will to thy will. And now, sitting comfortably and breathing in through your solar plexus, breathe in. Breathing in, and fill your lungs. Fill your lungs. Hold. And then relax. And allow that energy, that breath to sink slowly down your arms, down into your hands, out through your fingertips. We're going to do that a few times. And again, breathing in. And as you breathe in, try if you can to visualize being wrapped in a blue blanket. You may want that blanket to be threaded through with pinks and blues and greens. Breathing in, visualize that blanket just snugly wrapped around you, that beautiful blue and green and pink energy. The blue is the universal healing color. The green is for peace and harmony. The pink for love. So visualize, if you can, being surrounded by that. Eyes closed, breathing in. And visualize that blue blanket, or visualize yourself laying on a beach with a blue sky above you, or green grass with a blue sky above you, and feel the warmth and the beauty of the sun as it shines down on you. And breathing in again and filling yourself. Allow that energy, allow my energy, as I'm sending it out to you, allow my energy to combine with yours. Just visualize that I'm there with you. Visualize that I'm holding your hands. Visualize that I have my hands on your shoulders. Or visualize that I'm just simply in the room with you. Breathing in, breathe in my energy. Breathing it in. Take as much of it as you want. It's all yours. Breathing in, holding. Relaxing, allowing the energy to flow through you. Allow it to flow down your arms, out through your palm centers, out through your fingertips. Relaxing. Eyes closed. And again, visualize that blue blanket or that warm summer sun, the sunshine warming you, filling you, giving you light, filling you with light, filling you with the light of God. Breathing in. Let's do this a couple more times, shall we? I'm there with you. My energy is there with you. As you're breathing in, breathe in my energy. You can have as much of it as you like. I've got more than enough to share with however many. Millions, in fact, or even trillions. One tiny pulse of energy, one tiny drop of energy goes out into the universe. Imagine if thousands of tiny drops of energy were to go out there. Imagine if you were to share your energy with others. But for those of you who need it, don't give it out just yet. Just take it in. You can be as greedy as you want to be. And breathing in, eyes closed, trusting, relaxing. Let the beauty of this process fill you. Let the beauty of this process fill your hearts, fill your minds, fill you physically. Let the beauty of this process fill your hearts. And one last time, breathing in. absorb the energy that is coming to you. Breathe it in. Let it permeate throughout. Let it touch your soul. Let it fill your soul with light, so that your soul can flower, that it can blossom, it can be nurtured. And relax. Slowly, when you feel ready, you can open your eyes. When you feel ready, you can stretch a little bit. You might want to move a little bit. You might want to wriggle about a little bit. Please do understand that you can do this at any time, day or night. Any time. Doesn't have to be at the night time, doesn't have to be when you go to bed. You can do it when you wake up in the morning if you want to. And if it is helpful to you, then play this back. We should put it on YouTube. You can come into the Facebook page and do it that way, however you want it. If you want more, or you want to know more about it, please email me, rosemary@rosemaryaLtea.com. We do have some healing CDs, meditation CDs. Yes, my little dulcet voice, and the one particular healing tape I'm going to tell you a story about perhaps next week. That healing CD is called Give the Gift of Healing. A patient of mine, Wendy, oh, I'm starting the story, aren't I? That's for next week. I'll tell the story of Wendy and the healing tape next week. Let's have some more questions or comments, Michelle.
Judith said, absolutely amazing. I am peaceful but energized.
Lovely. Judith, I'm so glad.
Wendy is on.
Hi, Wendy.
She said she could talk to you after the show today. My face always flushes. It's from energy moving right with a question mark.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm very appreciative.
Yes, yes. Those hot flashes are not necessarily to do with hormones, but healing and energy and producing energy, feeling energy can give us the same feeling of having hot flushes. But it's a good thing. Yeah. Anything else going on here?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Shall we?
Hi. Well, Wendy wants to know how you order the meditation CDs.
Email me, rosemary@rosemaryaLtea.com, and Michelle.
I'll send you the link for it.
Michelle will send you the link, and is it through the square?
It is through the square.
So we have a little Apple square. I don't know what else to say about it, really.
There's an online marketplace.
It's an online marketplace. It's a little shop. So you can order books there, you can order CDs there, so on and so forth. We ought to really update it, hadn't we? I do have, just as we're talking about that, I do have 4. I have 4 healing CDs, meditation CDs, but I also have a great CD about a patient of mine, which I will tell you the story of.
Next week.
Bob? No, not next week. Or maybe next week. There's so many stories to tell. It's so hard. We've got the story of Wendy, who inspired the healing tape. Mm-hmm. We've got the story of the lady who, for a variety of reasons, could not have anesthetic. But she had a very nasty accident, and her hand was literally twisted back to front. So they had to literally practically cut off her hand and refix it.
You're telling the story.
I'm telling the story. I'm only going to tell you a little bit, just to give you a taster. So we have that, and how she used the gift, the meditation gift of healing instead of anesthetic. How could that possibly? Oh, that's another story. We have so many stories. We have the story of Bob,
Mm-hmm. We have a story of the older Mark.
We have a story of our wonderful Mark, who was involved in a very nasty accident, and on and on and on we go with our stories. Do we have any more comments or any more questions from anybody at all? Because we're getting close to time, so I'm going to give you 2 seconds, maybe 2 minutes.
If you Wendy just said thank you.
You're welcome,
and Wendy will be emailing you after the show.
Emailing me?
I'll be emailing Wendy after the show.
Oh, okay. Right. Sorry. Yes. Right, Wendy.
Kathy said thank you.
Hi,
she
Kathy.
said that your story was beautiful earlier.
Thank you.
Pretty much everything else has
been... Were you all quiet? Were you all listening? Look, here's the deal.
Oh, now we have comments. Hold on.
Well, come on, because you've got to participate. I mean, be fair. I've done my bit. I want you all to do your bit.
Sandra said, it's lovely, beautiful energy, Rosemary, and thank you for your energy. I could feel you standing beside me, and your energy is beautiful.
Sandra, thank you for that.
She said, who is on the couch beside you? I can see the energy there. It became really clear before your healing session, and it is not so quite clear now.
It's my cachorro. And he's a healer dog. That's another story.
The healer dog.
That's another story of how he put his... Oh, I can't tell you. I so want to tell you these stories. But you're going to have to wait, because every week we're going to have new stories, and that is a brilliant, brilliant story. Yeah, any more comments or questions or anything else going on?
Kevin said, good afternoon from Hawaii.
Hi, Kevin.
And then
Hawaii. James... Oh, whereabouts in Hawaii are you?
Kauai.
Oh, Kauai. Oh, I've been to Kauai. Why are you in Kauai, Kevin? I want to know. And are you having fun wherever you are anyway?
James said that when he
Hi, James.
spoke to his aunt and told her that you were going to be studying the healing, that she says thank you so much, and she burst into tears.
Oh, darling. Oh. Well, you know, people think that, let me just be clear, because James, people think that, you know, it's an honor for me to send healing to them. And they have it completely the wrong way around. It really, honestly, is an honor for me. Because, you know, I mean, people don't know, a lot of people don't know what healers like myself do. We go here, there, and everywhere. We sometimes go in the middle of the night. That's another story about the lady with the baby. We went to the hospital. And you see these stories just keep coming up as I'm thinking about them. You know, and also anyway, I've got to stop thinking of these stories, but we do, you know, as a healer, it is such a privilege for me to share my gift. I personally never charge for healing. I've never charged for healing. With my team and I at the healing centers, what we used to do is, you know, some people can't afford to buy petrol or gas, as they say in the States, and so we would ask our patients whenever possible, could they afford to, you know, pay for the gas, or could they make a donation towards the expenses? But often people couldn't do it. So we, as a healing organization, would often have fundraisers to enable us to rent the places that we rented, and also to enable us to, you know, travel, and sometimes distances. And I was talking to my friend Kay this morning, and she reminded me of the man we went to see, who it took over 3 hours to get to him, and 3 hours back, plus the healing in between, and they couldn't afford to pay us a penny. And that's another story I should tell you all about. And on it goes. But see, these stories are piling up. So
I have a list.
Please, James, tell your lovely aunt that it is truly an honor for me and for my team, and not the other way around. And it's very gratifying. Thank you. Tell her thank you so much. Other comments, other questions, anything else going on?
Let's see. Judith says I have to make a list. I told her I already have one going.
A list of what?
All your stories.
Well, how does Judith know all my stories?
Because you've been talking about all your stories.
Oh yeah, make a list. Oh yeah. Well, actually, as I've been talking, I see. Yeah, right. Okay. But again, please, if you know, if there are any healers out there watching, and you have a story, you know, I know people want to hear my stories, but I like to hear other people's stories as well. And you know, if they're good stories or inspirational or whatever, we'd love to share them if you'd let us share them. So please email us, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com, if you have a story of healing, or if you want healing, or if you know of someone who wants healing. Again, please email us in the subject line. If you could try to remember in the subject line, just simply put healing. And then Michelle will know which folder to put it in, and when, you know, and when she's, you know, when she has so many requests, she'll deal with them and all the rest of it. Right, Michelle?
I deal with the healing requests as they come in.
As
soon as they come in, I put them on the list.
Yes, yeah. But it just helps us sort things out, you know, yes.
Deborah said that last week she asked for healing for her spine and that she was pain-free for 2 days. She said that she has the confidence that you can help heal her son for his abdominal issues. We put him on the list today.
All right. Well, all right. Did we ask for dietary information?
Not yet.
Right. If anyone out there has any, you know, dietary issues or, you know, worries in that regard, I do like to know. Pardon?
I said intestinal issues.
Intestinal, yeah. I do like to know the food. So, you know, rather than me having to write to you saying, can you send this dietary needs, etc. We just did that with a lady today, and or over the last few days we've been talking to someone through email, and she wants healing for her
skin condition.
Yeah, thank you. And so we sent it off saying, can you let me know, please, that what you're eating and so on. And she made me smile, because she said I'm almost nearly vegan, or
yeah, she
almost
just eats eggs. That's the only thing that's animal byproduct that she eats is eggs.
Okay, all right. But here's the deal, everybody out there, and I know this because I do it. We all cheat. And unfortunately, when we have issues, health issues, and we cheat, you know, even if we're just going to have one bite of that cheese, or I'm just going to have a little tiny bit of steak or whatever, when you're not supposed to be eating dairy or anything from the cow, for instance, that one little drop of something can be like poison to your system, and it starts the whole thing up all over again. We all cheat, so I wanted to know how that lovely lady cheats, and but in the nicest way and for the best reasons. Do we have any other comments going on here?
Hold on, I was responding to one. I was actually responding to Deborah,
okay,
and asked her to email into the office with her son's diet.
Yeah, okay, all right. So, do we have anyone else
Kevin
comment?
said he was led to Kauai by others that are here when he was visiting last February.
All right. Wonder what's going on there. I want to know why I'm led to Hawaii, let me tell you.
Lead me to Hawaii.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I love Hawaii.
It is a beautiful, beautiful place. And the people are absolutely lovely. They really are. Right. Any other questions or any other issues, Michelle? Because time is actually up. So, all right, again, if you want to know more about me or more about my books, for instance, my latest book, A Walk in the Clouds, we're going to give that out as a prize on our competition, which we'll talk about more.
We're going to extend. You might want to let some of these guys know if they're not going to make it tomorrow on the YouTube page that we are extending the competition.
We are extending the entries for the competition just just for a couple more days.
Yeah, it'll be Tuesday the 29th.
So the final entry for your comments, or what is it we're looking for in this competition? I've forgotten.
The superstitions.
The superstitions.
Different superstitions.
We're giving away to 3 people, 3 winners. We're going to give away a Walk in the Clouds signed by me, and also a CD of The Eagle and the Rose. And we might add, if you'd like one of my healing CDs and you want to enter the competition, we might even throw one of those in as well. We'll see what happens if we might remember me to add that. If you want to join in the competition, you know of an old wives' tale or a superstition, please let us know about it. If you know the origin of it, I'd love to know that as well, because I'm curious. I'm sort of like a history buff. I do like to know these things. And make sure in the subject line you put competition, and then Michelle knows where to put that to. Sorry, what?
Kevin, that has been messaging us from Kauai. I'm very jealous. I love Hawaii. He sent us some history on superstitions and stuff like that.
Ooh. Well, Kevin, I've just offered healing CD as well. So, I'm not saying you're going to win here, but we've had a lot of people enter this competition. You do have to, in order to qualify to be in the competition, you do have to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you do also have to be in the UK. If you're in Kauai...
No, you don't want to be in the UK. You want to be in the United States.
Oh, sorry. Did I say the UK? I meant the USA is what I meant. Sorry. You have to be in the USA. Because when we send out of the USA, we have all sorts of issues going on with taxes and all of that stuff. So, unfortunately, we do have to limit. But if you're not in the country, but you still want to send us your stuff, I'm still interested to know what you have to say to me. So please email us, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. If you would like healing or to be put onto the healing list, please email again, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com, and in your subject line healing, and tell us what it is you want from us. If you want to be on our mailing list, you do have to request it. Unlike so many people, if you send us an email about anything at all, a lot of people will automatically put you on their email list. We do not do that. You have to request it. So if you would like to be put on our email list, you must request, please put me on your emailing list, and that way you'll get notifications and you'll get all sorts of information about what we're doing. We only send, you will not be bombarded with lots of emails and lots of advertising, because we don't do that. So maybe
about 5 a month.
About 5 a month roughly is what you'll be getting. So also, could you do me a very great favor, all of you out there, you lovely people? Could you share? Because as the more people who know about healing, the more people learn to understand what healing is about, the better our world is. I was talking to Al, my friend Al Pisano, who we do the Everything is Attitude show with, and he was telling me a story about someone in a supermarket this weekend who completely lost their temper and was a bit aggressive. And he said to me, you know, Rosemary, it's like Grey Eagle always says, and my spirit guide Grey Eagle always says this, so I shall leave you with this thought. Your world, he says to me, in a very loving and caring way, your world needs gentleness. Through gentleness comes kindness, compassion, understanding, love. But if you start with gentleness, all of those other things will come. Our world does need gentleness, so, you know, if you feel a little bit like being gentle, please. I try to be gentle all the time, except if I'm really tough and have to deal with somebody and put them in their place.
It's always me.
It's she says it's always her. But even in those cases, I do try to be as gentle and as loving as I can be. Grey Eagle says our world needs gentleness. Just throwing that thought out there to you. Thank you very much for joining us today. We do hope that you enjoyed being with us as much as we enjoyed being with you. I shall be back tomorrow morning, Thursday, with our
the Spirit World.
The Spirit World Sees All on our YouTube channel. And again, if you would like to request that you're on my email list so we can let you know what's going on, please again email me, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. In the meantime, healing to all of you. I'm sending all of you my healing love, my healing prayers. Don't think that if this is a recorded show it's not going to work, because it does, because I just put it out there to the universe and then God decides where it's going to go. So I hope you all have a very, very blessed rest of the day and a very blessed weekend, which is coming up. So that's it for today. More stories next week at the same time, we think. And if it's a different time, if you're on my email list, we'll let you know. Bye.